Okay, we're we're good. We're live. We're live. Sorry. Sabaha, everybody. Sabaho, and welcome back. I hope the audio's playing well. Let me know in the comments below. Hope you guys are doing good. I see Jimmy Fire Dragons in there. I see Earl Owens. Greg is in there. And again, hopefully you guys are having a great Saturday. This is another episode of Saturday Morning with Tech. Although I have a feeling we're actually getting ever so closely to the 100th episode. So today's episode 97 on November 20th, 2021. And I'm actually coming to you from the Mediatek Tech Summit. Essentially, yesterday and the day before was the Tech Summit here in Laguna Beach. And there was a lot of information announced. Specifically, if we're going to talk information, this little guy, the Dimensity 9000 SoC or chipset, featuring new technologies, 4 nanometer technology specifically from Mediatek, just announced a couple of days ago to power the flagship experience that Mediatek is now jumping into in 2021. Andrew Fortin's in there as well. Morning, TK, hey, Greg. Please let me know how's the audio in this. I am using the Liberty 3 Pros, and I'm also doing a little bit of a hacking because I need to show you guys an interview that I did with Finbar. Finbar Moynihan is the VP of Marketing in the US and the European market for Mediatek. So a little bit of background, how things have been going. It's been an interesting week. It's been a busy week. Last couple of days have been definitely very busy. We pushed out a video earlier in the week talking about the Pixel 6 Pro, living with it for the last 3 weeks, and let's talk. Yes, thank you. Hold on, let me see. Maybe I can fix the audio a little bit. Let me see here. Okay, is it better now? Let me know if it's a little bit better. It seems like, at least on the meter from my side, it shows like it sounds okay. Dominic Juan, Sabah TK, audio is fine. Have you gotten to test any of this? So I posted some questions yesterday, and I got some answers, and I was able to get some of those answers, some of those questions answered by Finbar. Unfortunately, they did not have any hardware to test. The hardware availability right now, they're projecting it to be in Q1 or first quarter of 2021. And for the most part, we got a chance to play with these guys. This is the actual SoC itself. This is what the Dimensity 9000 is going to look like inside of other devices, or devices that are powered by different companies. I asked the question very blatantly, and we're gonna actually get a chance to look at the interview real quick. And I do want to actually do a few bits where I want to showcase some parts of the interview, but I also want to talk to you guys about some of those. I felt like it was an important thing. I couldn't have done a live interview with Finbar online with everybody with us, and then make sure that everything was kind of coordinated correctly. But at least this way we're able to kind of discuss it. The video is going to become available on the channel. I think just for anybody that wants to be able to check it out after the podcast is over. It's about a 15, 16-minute interview with Finbar talking about all the tech. Okay, Marco, thank you very much. Hopefully, my main goal essentially is if you were just listening to it, it makes sense. Audio-wise, part of that. And then the other video that I posted, which I'm not 100% sure if I want to keep at this point, was a Tesla video that I posted regarding how to customize your tires. So I may end up redoing that video. I'm not 100% comfortable with it, but I wish there was a way for us to replace videos as opposed to just, but it is what it is. The other thing that I was really focusing on, obviously, was Mediatek. The event actually started on Thursday morning, and it went through Friday afternoon. And of course, if you guys were following, I'm sure you guys probably already saw they had us do some tacos at the end, with technologies powered by Mediatek, specifically the June oven, which I didn't realize was basically running off of Mediatek technology. The entire 2 days event was packed with a lot of information. I was hoping to get some hands-on with some devices. Again, unfortunately, we're not going to see some of that till probably first quarter of the year. But they did promise that they were actually going to start demonstrating what Wi-Fi 7's capabilities are going to be at CES. So they're going to have a demonstration portion of their presence at CES, and I'm hoping to be able to get some of that on camera. So I'm looking forward to seeing them again at CES in about a month and a half, actually. It's not that long. But the big news, and we talked about it on Thursday with Juan Carlos as well, was the announcement of the Dimensity 9000, or the D9K, as I'm not going to call it from now on, because essentially it's literally their flagship SoC. It's a massive jump from their 1200. And what they were trying to do with it, and what was their aspiration. So we're going to definitely get a chance to see there. Oh, Mark, dude, I appreciate it. Always appreciate it. Now, the reason why I was excited about this meeting, this event as well from MediaTek, is because the reality is, okay, we have a certain number of players when it comes to SoCs that work on multiple devices. I'm not specifically focusing on the A15, or I'm not also focusing on the Tensor or even the Exynos, because those chipsets only reside in specific devices, right? Tensor is only going to show up in Pixels, and Exynos is only going to show up in Samsung devices in specific markets. And then the A15 or anything A series from Apple is only going to show up on Apple devices. I'm specifically talking about MediaTek and Qualcomm, because those are two processors that typically they compete in many areas as far as technologies and SoCs. We've seen somewhat of a shift in 2021. And I'm hoping you guys also noticed that a lot of the mid-rangers from some of the main manufacturers, I'm talking Oppo, Xiaomi, Realme, Redmi, even down to even OnePlus, shifting from a Qualcomm chipset for their mid-rangers to a MediaTek chipset. Even LG at one point last year, they did with the Velvet when they released it in the US on T-Mobile. They released it with a MediaTek chipset to kind of counterpart the 765G that we got with the Qualcomm version of the Velvet. Now, again, we realize that LG is no longer in the game as far as that, but this would have been an amazing entryway for MediaTek to start focusing and showcasing their capabilities. But what we see now is that MediaTek is no longer just trying to be. They're no longer comfortable being just in the mid-range. They want to move up to the next level. They want to do flagship type of experience. So it's very much a good experience, good move for them. Savan's asking, hey TK, okay, let's do this real quick. Okay, so here's the question: it's like, why is MediaTek cheap? Why is the Dimensity 9000 doesn't support 2K screens? Are they indirectly targeting budget, which with full HD? So they did actually they did say at the event that they are going to support 2K at 144, which is actually a higher resolution than what current Qualcomm offerings are offering us, which is QHD at 2K at 120 hertz, which is what we see mostly, like the S21 Ultra, the Oppos, the OnePluses. So as far as resolutions on displays, no, they're definitely going to be hitting the 2K at 144 hertz, as well as for 1080p, which we see a lot of devices supporting 1080p resolutions even to this day. Like like Xiaomi will probably put out a device that supports, like the Mi 11 Pro will have a QHD 120, but the Mi 11 will have a 1080p 120. So we still see high resolution, and MediaTek is going to take it to the 180 hertz refresh rate territory. 144 has been the best. 165, I want to say, was the best that we saw from the ROG. That was also a 1080p resolution. So for sure, they're definitely doing great. Now, to answer your first question when you say, why is MediaTek cheap? Now, MediaTek as a product or as a company doesn't actually sell anything specifically to you, right? You don't buy, we're not going to buy a pair of earbuds that are going to say, these are the MediaTek 1000. No, MediaTek is actually in a lot of our favorite devices. Now, if you use anything Amazon, if you use a smart TV, or if you use some of the Chromebooks on the market, they shared with us a Lenovo one, they're powered by MediaTek. So MediaTek is the powerhouse, the processing power, the SoC, the computing power inside of a lot of our smarter devices, IoT specifically. There's a lot of presence for them. They're known for being affordable because they're not trying to take the limelight. They're not making a specific product. They're known for, at least in the manufacturing, with the chipset manufacturing within the last couple of years, to be in more the mid-range, cost-effective, and power-efficient chipsets that are available. So the Dimensity series, the 800, the 1000, the 1100, and 1200 have all focused on budget to mid-range type of an experience, and now we're seeing the 9000 jumping into the flagship, because not only are they going they went from 7 nanometers to 4 nanometer architecture. They're also trying to go in with the X2, Prime Core is going to be an X2 at 3.05 gigahertz. The architecture is very different than what we've seen from MediaTek in the past, and they're still following, obviously, the ARM architecture, which is pretty much kind of indicative to what we could potentially be seeing in the future from Qualcomm. I mean, the 898 is rumored, obviously, not rumored. The 898 should be announced in another couple of weeks, so this information is going to be, obviously, we'll be able to start looking at some of those informations. But yeah, to answer your question, they're not cheap. It's not in that sense. They're more cost effective, and they've always targeted to be in products that are typically more cost effective for people. And I think some people associate cheap to low quality, And that's seriously the further from the truth when it comes to MediaTek. Their focus is to be optimized and functional at a low cost. And this has been literally their mantra for quite some time. And I do want to say this, that, although I was invited by MediaTek and I'm here, obviously, they paid for my expenses for this trip and so on. The opinions I'm sharing with you guys is literally out of me using their products. I mean, I've used the Nord 2, I've used the Reno. They had a plethora of devices that were showing up on the floor. Really, I've tried most of those devices. Even the Vivo X70 Pro, which I think Juan has still, and I'm going to hopefully be able to borrow from him, is featuring a Mediatek Dimensity 1200 Vivo, which is, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But thank you for that question, Sargon. Hopefully that kind of got you the answer right there. Mark Speck is in there. Hey, guys. Chemi, hey, man. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Hope you guys are doing good. I see. Yeah, for sure. And 1080p really... Okay, so here, actually, Greg is actually a pretty good question. 1080p is actually not bad. We did at one point, when we were starting to see a lot of rise into, QHD, 4K displays. Sony obviously has some amazing technologies in there. The reality of the matter is, a 1080p or a 2K is roughly the middle ground, which covers 90% of the spectrum of what devices are. There's still some 720p. I mean, Motorola just announced a couple of devices. One of them, I think, was 720. But the reality of the matter is, 1080p is a very good resolution, and if you marry that with a high refresh rate, you actually get a slightly different experience than what we were used to with the 1080p 60 frame resolution. So keep in mind, 180 frames per second may be specific to certain apps, but your scrolling is going to feel faster, your UI elements are going to be running faster, depending on the applications that you're using, especially scrolling-based applications are going to run much better. And again, they're pushing it to the 180 hertz refresh rate, which is definitely meaning that the touch sampling is going to be multiplied to 360. So keep those in mind. Those are things you have to keep in mind, that the touch sensitivity for gaming is going to be much better. And you're going to be enjoying a lot more content on this when you're able to see the fluidity of the UI elements. So I'm with Greg there. It's definitely very, very nice. Dominic jumping in with that one. Thank you, Dominic. MediaTek is cheap because they have a very little market share on smartphones processors, and that's a true statement. They're in the market, but they're not necessarily in the high-end market yet. Also, the engineers' wages in Taiwan are cheap than the ones in America, which I would also kind of put that into as kind of a perspective, realistically. Yeah, cost of manufacturing, cost of things. I mean, MediaTek is based out of Taiwan, which Qualcomm is the opposite. So there are certain things there. But I also feel like smartphones is not the only base, is not the source, is not the only source of income for MediaTek, as some other companies like Qualcomm is mostly in I would probably say they're in mobile devices, PCs, ARM-based PCs and so on. But Qualcomm is not into providing chipset for IoT-based devices. There are the Qualcomm tablets and so on. You know what I mean, though. Their presence isn't really focused specifically on being in that mobile. I mean, MediaTek seriously is in. They had a soap dispenser on the show floor. They had you guys probably already know, they power Peloton hardware. They are into. They're actually into a toothbrush I mentioned this on Thursday. A toothbrush made by Braun, Oral-B, where it was powered by Alexa, and the base has a built-in Echo that plays music when you're brushing your teeth. So again, they're very much diverse. I think their approach is also still, because their market share is not as great, they're going to be more incentivized to provide more competitive pricing. The question, though, still comes up with, will the 9000 deliver on these promises? Does it provide us the experience that we were expecting? And that's what I'm waiting for. That's the exciting part that I'm waiting for Q1. And I'm hoping, this is just a hope at this point, is that at CES, some OEMs may have some access to early prototypes or something like that we can double, check in and see. Maybe we can, just see actual hardware running the Dimensity 9000. End of Q1 may seem like it's very soon, but it's something that we need to keep in mind. I mean, that's literally about 4 months, right? By then, we're going to have the 898 coming out, and devices starting coming out, and a whole bunch of stuff. So I think the reality is we need to kind of set our expectations to match what it's supposed to be. So we'll see. Is it not the Dimensity 1200 Ultra and the X70 Pro Plus? No. So the X70 Pro Plus, if I'm not mistaken, is a Qualcomm chipset, and the X70 Pro, which is minus the Plus, is the 1200 Vivo. MediaTek, which is an interesting approach. I haven't seen other manufacturers that make SoCs do this. They have a project called Dora, and what they do essentially is that they are making custom chipsets or custom versions of their chipset 4 different manufacturers. So if you guys remember from the Nord 2 when we started looking at that device, the Nord 2 is featuring a Dimensity 1200 AI for OnePlus. If we switch it over to, I think it was at Reno. I may be wrong, but the Reno has a 1200 Ultra, and then that's still a 1200 chipset, but it's customized to work for Reno for open devices. And then of course Vivo had their version, which is the 1200 Vivo. Let me see if I have a picture. Let me show you guys what I mean. Here, let me see. Is that the picture I'm looking at? Yeah, okay, so that's the picture. Let me see. Okay, let me share the screen real quick with you guys, and you'll see what I mean. I took a lot of pictures. This may not be the best picture, but it will be the picture we look at. So here, hopefully this kind of answers the question for you, Jimmy, real quick. So you'll notice on the left side, we're looking at the Vivos and so on, but you can see the different dimensities, right? So Nord 2 is Dimensity AI, and then of course OnePlus Reno 6 Pro is 1200. And if we jump down to the Vivo X70 Pro, which is the one at the bottom, this is the Dimensity 1200 Vivo. So there is certain versions of it, and I forgot which one had the Ultra. I could have been wrong. I thought Reno was it, but essentially, yeah, there are different versions, and there's the 800, the 1100, and so on. But speaking of which, since we have this one, let's do this. I had the chance, and I do want to say, okay. So for where I am and what was going on, I'm very grateful that Mediatek and RacePoint worked and allowed me to be part of this event, and the fact that I was able to sit down and talk to Finbar was also a very nice thing. So this interview is not long; it's about a 14-minute interview. And what I want to do is I want to go through parts of this, and I want to discuss these things with you guys, because there are some things obviously we covered and we talked about. We talk about the Dimensity 9000. We talk about their new Wi-Fi chipsets. We also talk about the fact that what's going on with the next series of the 1200. I mean, obviously everybody's loving the fact that 9000 is going to be the best thing ever. We don't have hardware yet, so we couldn't really test it. But what's going to happen with the 1200 series and the 11 series, the mid-rangers and the budget series? What's the evolutionary upgrades that we're going to be going through there? So let me real quick just see if any more questions we can answer, and then we can jump into that. Music. Well, believe it or not, it's kind of a weird thing, but it's interesting, right? When you brush your teeth, that's like literally one of the most weirdest times. Like you're just sitting there and you're listening to yourself brushing, especially if you're using an electric toothbrush. So anything that can actually kind of make it a little bit less, concerning, and also the fact for kids and people that need to do the actual work correctly, you could definitely set yourself up with play the song that plays for 2 minutes so that I can brush my teeth for that long, and you won't feel the time passing. I think it's entertaining. It's good. So Ahmed is saying, I hope it's not just numbers. It's not going to be just numbers, because there's a little bit of heritage that we need to keep in mind. Okay, this is based on the ARM architecture. This is based on everything that other manufacturers use to build their SoCs. They're not creating the wheel. They're basically starting to jump on and say, look, we're going to start using the higher end reference points. We're not going to go into mid-rangers. So the X2, this could potentially be some of the stuff we hear from Qualcomm, but different, tuned into a specific different area. Now, keep in mind, they use the Mali GPU as opposed to where Qualcomm uses their own, which is the Adreno. So you kind of keep also some of the benefits of the different GPU performance. Now, it's just something for Mediatek to move forward in the future of smartphones. We want to have that opportunity to see what they offer, right? We want to have them prove what they have. And I kind of mentioned this to them as well. I said, look, the reality of the matter is we're all excited about the meat information. It is new. It's really now. It's sexy and everything. But we need to get hardware, because that's really where we start seeing. And this is where I kind of follow with Ahmed's comment. Yeah, the proof will be in the pudding. And I'm not really worried that they're not going to be able to deliver. I'm not necessarily worried. It's more about I want it now. That's literally like my experience. I wanted all that hardware now. I wanted to see what they could do with that now. So again, I can't wait to see how that kind of goes from there. And then, Dominic was jumping back. Okay, so here, Rajiv is saying, I think phones are fast enough. Just make the phone that makes godlike photos and videos. And I think those are the big things that we have to experience. I've said this before. I think we are at the point where our hardware is beyond what we need on the daily activities. The hardware is much faster than what we need. Software optimization, better camera performance, better camera processing, and that was a big factor in there that I appreciated in the meeting of the briefing yesterday. So yesterday they brought Micron in there. If you guys are not familiar, Micron makes storage basically. Let's just say this one. If you've heard of LPDDR4, 5, all of that stuff, that's the memory that runs everything. The LPDDR5X, which is what they're working right now with Micron to bring in with the Dimensity 9000, is going to bring in so much more improvements and processing improvements over on your device, not only from the sense of allowing RAM access to be much faster. The demo that they're actually explaining is the fact, like, if you remember ever taken a night shot, any smartphone that supports night mode or something, you end up having to take a phone, you bring it up, and then you have to hit that button and wait for that 5 seconds or so for it to actually kind of kick in. That effect is due to the fact that it's a massively memory-intensive activity. It loads a whole bunch of data into memory to basically expose the data, and it takes time for it to send and receive, send and receive, send and receive. LPDDR5X is going to be able to reduce that to basically from 5 seconds to 2 to 3 seconds, like a serious improvement over performance from having to tell everybody freeze for 5 seconds. It's a life-changing experience, and you won't realize it now because we're talking mostly, but if you're in that mode and you're trying to take pictures of family members, and especially if you have kids that don't want to just sit there for too long, this is definitely going to be a very good improvement for us. So I'm very excited to see what they're offering. That's really it's one thing to work with OEMs, the makers of the phones, but it's an exciting part to talk about the companies that put together the processing power behind it. I'm actually looking very much forward to seeing what Qualcomm has to offer in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a big part of what I'm really excited about, because again, last year was a very weird year for everybody, right? The 888 has been a serious contender, but we've had concerns with heating, and performance, throughput performance. And then we had different implementations of how things were going. Mediatek wasn't dealing with any of the heat thing situation because they were running on the 1200 and they're providing us a very good mid-ranger 765G experience kind of from the Qualcomm side. But you still saw some benefits over on the Qualcomm side because, again, you got years of improvements there. What I'm trying to, I guess, get to, Mediatek is truly trying to just say, look, we need to jump into this, we need to do this, and I'm excited to see what they can offer, and I'm hoping to see that what they deliver is on and above what we saw from the briefings yesterday. So for sure. Let me see here. Greg. Oh, dude, Aditya, thank you very much for the super chat, man. Appreciate it. I know I have that video kind of set up there. We're going to turn it on. You deserve the recognition, TK. Thank you very much, TK Arbe. TK is getting the recognition he deserves, onward and upward. It is a very, very humbling experience, honestly, the last couple of days. If you guys are familiar with Brandon Lee, I got a chance to spend some time with him yesterday. Awesome guy. And I also, I found out that there's something, actually, some of the people that work over on with Mediatek in the management department, actually, one of them was Lebanese, like a buddy of mine from Lebanon. It's like, and he saw my Twitter handle and he noticed that there was some Arabic writing in there. And he's like, hey, are you Arabic by any chance? I said, yes, I'm from Lebanon. And he's like, yep, I'm in the same. So like, it was a very, very surreal, but also very familiar and very easy and approachable. I don't know how to explain. The philosophy of Mediatek as a company is very approachable. The conversations are easy to have. Their team, either PR or even executives, are also very, very nice. So let's talk real quick. Thank you very much, DT, again for the super chat. I really, really appreciate it. And let me see here. Did I miss something? Oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay. So with the DT in there. El Jos is in there. Hey, man, hope you're doing well. I'll say hi real quick to everybody else as well. Earl always Aditya, our Mr. Benedict Cumberbatch of our channel. Chemi, okay, so correct with Chemi's question here is, TK, do you think we will be able to do some shorts with all the people over there? There's going to be some, so tonight's event is, today's more of a free day, they call it, but we still have a dinner tonight. I will take on that challenge. I will put together a short showing everybody in there. I'm going to walk around, I'm going to say hi to everybody, and we're going to get it in there. And I'm hopefully be able to do it in under 60 seconds so that it qualifies as a short. So that's my goal. I'm going to try to do that tonight. There's a lot of people, and I'm sure most of them are going to be there. I'm worried some may have left, like Saf. I don't know if Saf and Edabong are going to be there, but I know Edabong mentioned that he should. We'll be able to. There was some. I think there's a few pictures there that I may be able to throw in there. I took some pictures with him. Yesterday's cooking event was a lot of fun. But that's a great idea, Jimmy. I loved your idea last time, by the way, when we did the how many Sony devices do I have in my home. That actually that reel over on Instagram did very, very well. A lot of people were interested to see that. Let me see. Okay, TK here real quick. Stravan's asking, TK, take this. With Dimensity 1200 in the Nord 2, especially in India, it got blasted for it. So I heard about those things, yes. And I think it's only battery issues in the Nord 2, not Mediatek's issue. And I agree with you on that one. So I heard about those. There were some concerns in there with those, and I think it's probably more so to the manufacturing of the battery and maybe some being impurities in there. It should not be the case. We all know, obviously, smartphones, and we use them on a daily basis. So I agree with you. I don't think it's a Mediatek concern. I think it's more something OnePlus needs to investigate and find out how to take care of. Now, the one part I'm also kind of interested in is I did not hear of any cases like this in other places where the Nord 2 is available, specifically the European market. So it's interesting to see potentially maybe it could be basically maybe traced back to a specific manufacturing area. If I'm not mistaken, I do think that most devices, although maybe manufactured in Asia, not necessarily are all in the same region, depending on where they're going. But yeah, it's something that it's concerning. Kind of brings us back a little bit to where Samsung was a few years ago. But hopefully, this is not something that's going to keep going. But I'm with you. Oh, Marco, thank you very much for the super chat again. Everybody, thank you for hanging out and kicking it with us and having a good, fun Saturday morning. Well, Saturday morning for me, and hopefully a good Saturday, depending on what part of the time, what the day is for you. Thank you for all you do, TK. Thank you very much. The content you created, share with us, is informative and entertaining. Thank you. I appreciate that you enjoy it, and I hope that it comes off when I'm sharing it, that it is also coming from a place of enjoyment on my side as well, because I share with you guys things that I enjoy. I don't try to go out of my way to put things just because to put them together. Like the thing I did yesterday with the unboxing the Mediatek Dimensity 9000. I mean, it was seriously like one of the coolest thing ever to be able to actually get it. And I don't know where they put the case. I think my son, I guess, I'm not sure if Omar has it, but they gave us like a nice little lock case, and they had everybody sitting there trying to figure out the combination and everything. So it was exciting. They kept it nice. They kept it light. And but I'll share with you guys as much as I can tonight, for sure. Thank you very much on that one. Okay, let me jump in real quick. Glad you made it to Mediatek. Thank you, Aditya. Honestly, it was a big change. As you guys know, I'm no longer contributing to the XDA channel. This is something that is been going on for about a couple of months now, and I haven't been going on publicly saying, I'm not working with them. The reality of the matter is I will always have a big part of my heritage and my history at XDA. Right? 11 plus years of work is not just going to disappear. So the reality is I'm just focusing on my channels now, TK Bay and the Tariq Bay, and a little bit of a teaser. It looks like I'm debating, and I do want to bring this up a little bit later on, but I'm debating about possibly renaming the actual podcast to something a little bit more Android specific. And I probably want to see if there's any help that you guys can maybe throw my way. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So thank you. I appreciate it, man. Okay, so here I was asking a quick question. I have one question. Why the old chips don't have absolutely any heat issues? So it's not necessarily that they didn't have any heat. Any device that you use, regardless of how old it is and whatever, if you use it for gaming, right? And just to be specific, the heating concerns that we're talking about, the 888, are not running on like I would say, not necessarily idle mode, but like general usage. You're probably not going to notice too much of it. If you start gaming, if you start content creation, meaning you're shooting video, you're editing video, you're producing content where it leverages a lot of the GPU power that we're running on the 888. That's when you started seeing some of those temperature increases. Now, even the earlier generation, the A65, the A15, all of those they warm up. It's part of how things are, because when you're playing a game, or if let's say you're shooting content for quite some time, the ISPs or the image signal processors are all running on full speed. Your processor's running on, depending on what you're doing, at a certain level of speed. The battery's being taxed. Your display's probably running at 100%. If you're not charging the device, everything is running and of course, if you're connected and you're streaming, you have to add the modem and all of that stuff. Most of that stuff generates temperature rises, and you feel that on the phone. The 888 just took it further because it was having concerns maintaining and dissipating the heat, and I felt like part of that was also based on the fact that OEMs didn't address the heat. They didn't manage the heat as much as they could have, based on the fact that they used, or their expectations were that the heat generated from this chip is going to be very similar to the 865 and what we've seen in the past. So I think when we saw some companies trying to address it, like OnePlus with throttling, and I'm not going to deny the fact that Samsung does throttling out of the box. They don't turn on the full power of the 888. That was their attempts to manage some of those temperatures. So where we say older chips, they were also not power hungry. The demanding processing power that we had before were not at the same level. hardware right now is seriously pushing the limits. We're dropping down to 4 nanometers right now with MediaTek. Qualcomm is on the 5 nanometer chipset with the 888. There's potentially, maybe they could go down to 4 nanometers also with the 898. Again, if they follow the same architecture, there's potentially, a lot of improvements, but there's still potentially also a lot of power draw based on what we're doing. Long story long, which I'm not trying to shoot it in that sense. What we're looking here is better optimizations. The temperatures are obviously going to be one of my biggest things to focus on when we're looking at devices, be it a Dimensity or be it a Qualcomm 898 or whatever the next SoC is. I do apologize. This hotel's chairs are very low, so I'm having to readjust. So I'm with you, and I do understand what you mean on that one. Dominic, oh my God. Oh my God, you guys are doing like a 1-2 punch at me this morning. Okay, so Dominic, thank you very much for the super chat. Is Mediatek going to improve its firmware support? Mediatek has been very reputation for not performing its firmware in open source. So one of the things I did post a question, and they said they were going to get back to me as far as releasing the kernel source and so on, and being more compliant with on release time and so on. I didn't get a chance to ask them about firmware update, but I do have the ability of posting that question to them this afternoon, and hopefully be able to get back to you. I'm probably thinking, so if I was in charge of some of this, and what I would look for essentially when you ramp up to start competing in that level, being going into Flagship and that type of an experience, it definitely needs to be obviously provided that you need to do the right due diligence by it and provide better update and better support. And of course, firmware update and support lifecycle for these devices, we need to make sure that are applied, because that impacts how you get software updates and Android updates that's down the road. So those are some things that we're also going to need to see once we see the devices come up. And also, my hope is that also the OEMs are focusing on providing and passing through the firmware updates that they receive from MediaTek for those SoCs. So a lot of times we don't get them directly. I know Qualcomm did a little bit of firmware update for their GPUs with the series from the 865 onwards. But very few companies allowed us to do it, and how many of us really get GPU updates? I want to say Samsung may have pushed one since it was released, and I think on the Insider phone I haven't seen actually one come out for the GPU yet, but there are some updates in there. Hopefully that kind of gets it there. Okay. Oops, sorry. Probably because the older chips aren't overclocked, and that also could be the other performances, depending on what you're looking for and what the performance on the chips were done. Sorry, yeah, we're already missing Michelle Rahman at XDA. Your thoughts on it? Michelle is actually an amazing guy. I'm hopefully, if everything works out great, I'm having lunch with him tomorrow. He's in my area, and we're going to get a chance to hang out a little bit. An amazing guy, a lot of work, very dedicated. I've had the opportunity to travel with him on multiple trips and cover multiple events with him. An amazing guy. It's sad to see that he left the XDA team, but I'm sure that where he's going right now is probably a more. I was going to say a better. I'm not going to say better work. It's something that he wanted to do. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm sure he wouldn't have left XDA if what he wanted to do was just to do work there. Obviously, he's moving on to something bigger and better. And I'm hoping that I think with the company that they're working in, they're growing and they're hiring some more people. So we'll have to see. But I do feel like it was I felt like the whole team felt like it was a loss, obviously, and I'm sure everybody knows. Again, Michelle was the face of the portal, and for the longest time, I was the face of the YouTube side. So it was kind of like a brethren combo there between Michelle and myself. And but yeah, he and I talked, and last time, 2 years ago, we both went to Qualcomm, the Qualcomm Tech Summit in Maui. So that was also one of our last. Actually, that was the last time we traveled together. Yeah. But I'll let him know. I'll let him know. I mean, obviously, a lot of people love him, and he's great. And he still is very active, by the way. Obviously, if you follow him on Twitter and so on, he's very much active in the Android space. He has not left Android. He's just shifted his focus on that. Let me see here. Okay, so I'm noticing some of the conversation in there. How's England? And okay, so they're talking a little bit. So let's go ahead and play the video. I do want to play portions of it. I want to play a little bit because I want to show you guys. Not that I'm trying to show off my interviewing skill, but I was actually very happy that I was able to sit down with Finbar. Like I said, it's been a couple of years, so let's see if the audio plays well. First thing I will say this: thank you for a very. Let me know in the comments if the audio is coming through. Information-rich event. I was expecting a lot of information. I was expecting a lot of new announcements. The last time we sat together, we talked.
Actually, you and I were on Miriam's podcast. Exactly. She was joking about it. She's like, the last time you and I were sitting together, we were again at another Mediatek event. So thank you for inviting me.
So yeah, not that I don't want to have us watch it. The video is going to be live after, but it was just the introduction. We haven't had a chance to sit down together. And this year we didn't interview Finbar with Miriam. We interviewed another executive at Mediatek. It was Eric. So I got a chance to, as soon as I was done with her podcast, which will be coming up live, got a chance to talk to him. So let's talk a little bit here.
Don't get me wrong. 1200, love your implementation of Dimensity 9000. What is it? What does it represent to Mediatek?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks, TK, and great to be with you again in person. I'm glad the event was useful. And thanks for the words on Dimensity 9000. It truly is, I think, a big step forward for Mediatek, and I think hopefully we reflected that in our enthusiasm came across.
Yes.
I mean, it is the culmination of many years of hard work by many different teams inside of Mediatek. But as our CEO said, I mean, the time is right now, right, for Mediatek. We've seen tremendous growth in our business. We've seen tremendous success with the broad base of our products, but really wanted to focus on that flagship tier, which we felt we hadn't quite landed in previous.
The F word.
The F word.
2 days ago.
They did that at the beginning of the show, which was a little bit weird. I'm like, okay, so today we're going to talk about the F word. Very, very nice. So obviously the F word was meant for Flagship, but let's watch it.
We're going to talk about the F word. I'm like, what kind of show?
My Irish mother might not like that.
We're using the Flagship. Flagship.
Sorry,
we're not taking there.
But yeah, surely going into the Flagship space, right? So and we threw everything at it, as you can see, which you need to in that space, because it's not Flagship unless you're throwing the best of everything at it.
You're living up to the form, the true meaning of the word
Flagship.
And with the understanding that lately the word flagship becomes a little bit relative depending on where you're putting out. Mediatek's been known, if you guys are not familiar, Mediatek is everywhere. And I counted every piece of hardware you got. I did about 49 pieces of things that you had on the show, and I know that wasn't everything.
No, that wasn't everything.
From phones, from toaster, from microwave, they had a rowing bike, 3 TVs, tablets galore, Chrome books, oh my god, even a soap dispenser, IoTs, no. If you use anything Amazon, you have been using Mediatek for some time and you just didn't realize it, especially with the tablets.
2 billion consumer electronics devices every year.
It's amazing that it's like you're there but nobody really knows, but then you start appreciating some of the new technology. Like I said, the direction with the Dimensity 9000 for me was very much yes, that kind of you get a goal, you're running and you're doing it, and obviously I'm sure you've gotten this question many times. I'm sure everybody wants to know, is there anything you can tell us roughly, maybe potentially who could be, or when can we start seeing?
So again, I got the question. Tommy hit me up on Twitter, and he was like, what devices are going to be getting it? Who's going to be playing the game, and who's going to be releasing it first? So this was me kind of blatantly just say, hey, tell me, what can we talk about? What can we do? And, surprisingly, he kind of gave me some hints, a little bit of hints that I don't think most people would have realized. But here, watch this part.
Or Dimensity 9000 possibly.
Well, we've said a little bit about it, so I'll say what I can say. I mean, obviously no customer has announced yet, but we are sampling multiple customers. All the major customers in the Android space that we work with in China are all sampled with the product and working on something or other.
There's quite a bit of selection on that table right there that I can draw some
conclusions from. Who's going to launch first and who's going to be out there. But we expect the first devices to be in the market about the end of Q1.
Okay.
So within a few months.
Very soon, actually.
Yeah. And then I'm sure there will be more that will follow from there. And naturally, I think it's fair to assume they will start from the China market. The China market's already very heavily penetrated with 5G. We already have a large market share of the 5G market in China. We obviously have those type partnerships with those major OEMs, and I think we can expect something from there. But I think we will also see it expand out into other regions maybe later in 2022.
I was going to say, Europe has been, there's quite a few number of devices. So I would say I've been blessed and lucky enough to be able to try and...
Sorry guys, the audio is not good. I know, I'm sorry about that part. The video is going to be live. So I was trying to do is just give you guys real quick. For anybody that wants to watch the video is going to be live again as soon as the show is over. Hold on, let me just turn it on here. And well, so the big part of the interview was obviously focused on Mediatek and what they're going for. So what we're talking about right now, obviously, is the Dimensity and the 9000, or their focus on what they're trying to shift and change in the Dimensity 9000. The perception that everybody had of what Mediatek was offering, right? So let me go ahead and do this one here. I'm going to make it unlisted so you guys can watch it now if you guys want to jump into it. Here is get shareable link, and so here we are. So this is the actual video. It's live. It's available on the YouTubes, but it's in unlisted portion. So the audio there obviously is much better. I'm going to try to keep going through. I want to play a few clips of it. It's not a very long video. It's only about 16 minutes as an interview. But again, when we jump into what we're looking at here, what is it that we're talking about as far as technologies? Mediatek has not done this before, right? That's the exciting part. And what you're seeing there is literally after us coming out of the morning session yesterday. They talked about their TVs, their new technologies coming in for the TVs with 8K processing. Also talking about Micron and obviously the LPDDR5X that they were going to be including, and they're working with Micron to be one of the first manufacturers to support that. All of these things are big moves for MediaTek, and to a certain point, it's also new to them, right? So this is where kind of like the cautions and the excitement kind of comes in. I'm excited to see what they have to offer. I'm excited the fact that they are jumping into the next level of processing power. But you also want to be a little bit conservative when you're looking at setting your expectations, because it is the first time. How is it going to be processed? How is it going to be accepted by OEMs? Now, we already knew that the 1200 series performed very nicely on, let's say, an Oppo or a OnePlus or a Xiaomi or a Vivo. 1200 was intended to be a mid-ranger, so those are the expectations you got. So you'd assume that with more performance power, better, smaller architecture going into or better improved architecture with the 4 nanometer as opposed to 7, and going in with more performance concerns that they're going in there. I think Juan Carlos posted an article that was very good this morning. I don't know if it was this morning or last night. He's talking about basically the concerns that maybe we're going down a path that is very similar to the 888. More power consuming, more power hungry system that could potentially provide us with more temperature concerns. So we need to see this. They're focused, and he'll talk about a little bit more in the interview where he talks about more power performance optimizations for their 5G modem, low power consumption for their 5.6 or sub-6 5G technology that they're focusing on. The Dimensity 9000 will not feature millimeter wave. That's one thing that was an interesting approach. So there may end up being a version of the 9000 that supports it, but this version that they announced today does not. He mentions it being more of a parallel activity, meaning a parallel launch event. So it's interesting to see what they offer there. The stream quality of the hotel, yeah. So that was the other thing. I'm on a hotel network. There's that part of it that's playing in here, and then of course I don't want to mess with the network concerns, but it is obviously on a hotel Wi-Fi. So I could not be on 5G. The location that we're in here is a beautiful and amazing location, but unfortunately the location is so close to the beach that it is also somewhat on a cliff. Below the cliff, closer to the beach, we are blocked from most of the towers. So my connection to T-Mobile, at least, is barely on an LTE, and at best, and sometimes I hit HSPA plus. That's how bad it is. So I could not run the stream from it. Otherwise, I would have totally done it on 5G. And yes, so there are some concerns. But I think it's also because of the way the display and everything is done. Let's try this one thing. Okay, so right now what I'm doing here is, let me see here. Let me just bring out the video from where it is. I'm going to try one thing, and I'm going to see maybe that fixes our problem. What I mean by this is I'm going to actually run it as my main screen. So let's go ahead and disconnect this one. This should not do anything to the stream. Okay, so I'm going to make the video, and I'm going to share. So stop sharing. Yeah, boom. And I'm actually going to just share my screen. Oh, you know what? Hold on a second. Oh my God. Okay, I did not realize we could do this. Okay, hold on, guys. I think we may have fixed the problem. Okay, so here it is. TK. And here.
Thank you for a very
Please tell me if this is better.
Information-rich event. I was expecting a lot of information. I was expecting a lot of new announcements. The last time we sat together, we talked. Actually, you and I were on Miriam's podcast.
In Coronado.
So for everybody in the chat, if you don't mind, please let me know how does this sound. Okay, good. Oh my God. Okay. So the solution was in front of me, and I was paying attention to none of it. Let's jump over to the area we were in before. So real quick. So yeah, thank you, Aditya, for pointing that out. I know there's that hotel part, but I think this may fix my problem.
Later in 22.
I was going to say Europe has been there's quite a few number of devices. So I would say I've been blessed and lucky enough to be able to try and use some of the devices that you guys have been featuring, like the
Oh, we
Vivos,
fixed it.
the Oppos,
We're fixing it live.
the Renos.
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, you had one chart there that was covering.
So those devices, this is how many devices they released, and this is 2021. You could see in that chart. I was trying to keep it in there. So Dimensity, this is the 1100, the AI, the 1200 that we talked about. Let me just bring the audio on this one. We'll play this, and then the next chart that kind of jumps on after that. You see that Realme's in there as well, and then here we jump into the Dimensity 700, the 700 series, the 800U, the 820, the 900. All of those things are devices that are powered by them. So very, very, very big experiences here.
Exciting part is the flexibility and the feature set that you've improved in the mid-range area, and that's what excites me to the next level.
Yeah.
So you mentioned 5G a little bit on the conversation, and for everybody, if you didn't watch the show or you were not watching the live stream, there was some discussion regarding that you guys are also going to be looking into mmWave in the future.
Yep.
But it seemed like is it going to be with the 9000, or is it going to be more?
It's in parallel. So, I mean, I think no secret, our focus in 5G has been sub-6, and we really focused early on optimizing sub-6 solutions and really focused, I think, on delivering more advanced sub-6 features and really optimizing the low-power implementation for sub-6. I mean, how many times did our CEO say low power yesterday? I mean, I know what I have to say back to him.
It's a big demand for, especially when we start, like when we first looked at 4G LTE, when the way 4G was implemented, and then we start seeing 5G come up.
See, their focus is very much on trying to provide a lower power consuming modem experience. They are going to work with their own modem, so that's one of the other things. I know some people may be wondering, are they using Intel? Are they using Samsung's? No. This is going to be an integrated solution for everything built in. Their 5G modem has been proven and it's been working in European countries. If they do bring that type of hardware to the US, it would need to be certified. But yeah, they're using a tried and true modem that they've released and they've used with other versions of the 1200. I mean, they've had 5G devices for literally the last 2 years. That was the beginning of the Dimensity series. It was getting them into the 5G era. And Ahmed, I do appreciate the offer on the recommendation on OBS. Unfortunately, I'm not using OBS because I'm using StreamYard. If I was using Restream, then yes, I totally could have fixed that part. What I was trying to do was essentially share it as a screen, and now because it's embedded as part of this, it definitely works better, and it's almost like it's part of the same stream, and it doesn't have to buffer as much. So hopefully it works much, much better. So let's jump back in there.
5G is a very hungry modem, and anything you can optimize from either, like you guys jumped into the 4nm chipset, you skip 5, you're like, we're not going to play that. No, we're going to play a, hold my beer kind of thing. Going in there, power consumption, obviously you want to be able to reduce that. But then also you're focusing on the medium that I guess is most commonly available.
Exactly.
Sub-6 is literally everywhere.
Everywhere, and 85–90% of 5G is still sub-6, right, globally.
But I'm still excited the fact that you guys are not forgetting about the true power-hungry mmWave capabilities. And obviously Verizon in the US, pretty much the only carrier we have. Very small amount, I think, with some of the other carriers.
No, we see millimeter wave as an important technology, and it is an important technology for the wireless industry. And as 5G, we're all excited about the opportunities 5G is going to bring, not just in smartphones, but beyond smartphones. And that's going to require, ever more dense networks, ever more capability, ever more capacity. And millimeter wave, by necessity and the lack of spectrum, is going to play a role there. For us, it's just a matter of timing and when, right? But we have a parallel track. We have millimeter wave technology. We've made some public announcements with infrastructure vendors and operators and interoperability testing of our millimeter wave solution. We have said we expect to see the first smartphone in the US market with millimeter wave next year. So we will see millimeter wave technology launch.
So I don't know if you guys noticed that there was that bit of information that we haven't heard before. So before, millimeter wave is a big thing, obviously. Millimeter wave in the US is very much a Verizon kind of exclusive concept of conversation. There is other implementation with T-Mobile and AT&T, but for the most part, they're the ones known for it. They actually showcased millimeter wave way longer than 5G, sub-6 5G for the longest time. But if you notice there, the specific point he's saying is that we are going to see a millimeter wave modem and device with MediaTek powered SoC. So let's play that one more time. Like I said, it was very interesting listening to when you talk to somebody like this. Again, you get to learn some more.
Public announcements with infrastructure vendors and operators, and interoperability testing of our millimeter wave solution. We have said we expect to see the first smartphone in the US market with millimeter wave next year. Okay. So we will see millimeter wave technology launched with MediaTek in 2022.
So you say that, again, they're focusing on the market, and we are going to start seeing some more showcase technology from them. And I'm with you, Greg, for medical purposes, obviously, but it's also for broadcast. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but broadcast networks or people that are remote broadcasting, like again with the Xperia Pro that we played with, and Juan and I were doing some of those live testing with them. It was heavily reliant on the 5G technology of millimeter wave on Verizon to be able to do 4K upload and download. And this is the only technology that you're able to do. Stadiums will also have millimeter wave. But right now, I think the concern that, or maybe the main thing that we want to keep in mind is sub-6 5G is the standard, and I think it's where every company is trying to optimize for. If they're able to provide us an amazing low power consuming experience with their modem with the Dimensity 9000, it's going to be very good. And I think I was looking at Dominic's comment right there just a second ago. TK, Samsung's 5 nanometer is roughly equivalent to the TSMC 7 nanometer. Absolutely. It's what we're looking at right now is the evolutionary into the next, the Cortex X2 processor that we're getting in there, the Prime Core that we're getting here on the brand new Dimensity 9000. It's a shift, it's a change, but it still runs on 1 prime, 3 mid, and 4 low power. So you're still running the same architecture to a certain extent, and you're just trying to squeeze more power. My worry is that we're not. Well, it's hard to tell this at this point. I want to see more provided devices that explain to us or give us at least the understanding of how is management of temperatures, power draw is going to be done on the device like this. So definitely, for sure. Yeah, 5G is okay. So Sravan's actually saying here is in India at least 2 more years more for 5G. It's going to be something coming up right now. For the most part, the benefits of 5G are not necessarily speeds. I realize a lot of people focus on speed as a title because it's 5G as opposed to 4G. The main benefits of 5G right now are mostly better market coverage and better optimizations for the networks, for the operators. And what it does for them is it does give us somewhat faster connection, but it's more reliable indoors and other markets and better coverage. Where 4G LTE and 5G right now may have similar speeds if you run a speed test between the two. Having the 5G is mostly for optimization. So once we see more of an embedding into that, we're going to obviously you'll see the benefit there with better coverage and more people being able to. And you can actually, in many ways, they can also leverage taking some stress off of the 4G LTE network, which will improve connectivity. So in a weird way, 5G is there to also help 4G become a better connectivity. But if it's not there, you're right. It takes time for things to kind of get better. But let's keep going real quicker here on that one. Oops. That's not what I want to do.
Is going to play a role there. For us, it's just a matter of time. I think will be more of a business opportunity for us when we get there.
Absolutely, and some of the other vendors also that we're talking at the event, they didn't come on yesterday. They came on today. We're talking about basically Micron was talking about LPDDR5X, demonstrated going to be coming in on devices with MediaTek. To me, it's like, okay, if you were expecting one thing, and then it's like, no, but then there's more. and because we heard everything about the 9000 yesterday, the triple ISP, 18-bit processing, 8K encoding, decoding, 1080p, 180, 4K, sorry, 2K at 144. Like, I'm looking at all these charts, I'm like, oh my God, like this is seriously, like it's a lot. That's what I said. It's a lot of information. And of course, the new Wi-Fi chipsets that you guys are jumping in with Wi-Fi 6E, just literally like facilitating the communication, the band.
The excitement that you see there is literally the best way I can describe it is kid in a candy store and you're just going crazy. This is the stuff that I geek out on this thing. This is the stuff that excites me. This is the reason why I'm in making YouTube content and being, trying to provide as much experience as possible. It's a very weird place, but this is like truly, it's work, but it's fun at the same time. And the time just literally flies by. The first day I was here, literally I was up till like 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't realize it was 1 o'clock in the morning. That's how much fun it is. And we got a chance to hang out with a lot of people. But Finbar is absolutely amazing, and as a person, but also as an interviewer, because he's obviously done many of these. So talking to him, and again, being not that it wasn't the first time we've talked, it was very exciting. So yeah, you see a lot of geeking out. I understand it's purely out of excitement. So for sure.
Saw tremendous success and a lot of our revenue growth and
What,
And jump back
1200
a
or the
that
future, but
that segment is
Okay, so this is the part when I started talking to him a little bit more about the 1200 and the 1100 future. Not that I'm not excited about the Dimensity 9000, but the reality, we kind of also need to talk about mid-rangers. This is again what they've been doing great at for the last year.
solid foundation.
Oh, here it is.
Love 1200. Is there anything that you maybe, or can you talk anything about maybe the potential future of what 1200 or the future, but
that segment is very important for us as well.
Yeah, because I feel like that is the
and-
solid foundation, I feel like.
and we saw tremendous success and a lot of our revenue growth and all of the OEM brands that you mentioned earlier was very, very important for us last year. And that is an important category in the global 5G market. It's not the flagship tier, it's something below that. It still demands significantly high performance, but maybe not the bleeding edge performance of the flagship. And there's some nuance there we can optimize differently. So yeah, that's a segment we're not ignoring. The 1200 is not the end of the line there.
So hopefully
we will have more to say very soon.
That was my thing. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love D9000, and I want to see how the performance kind of goes in there. But I also want to see the next conversation when it comes down to 1200, 1100, or maybe even other numbers, obviously.
And we will leverage as much of that technology between those two as we can. But clearly they're hitting different price points, they're hitting different performance points. There will be some trade-offs we'll make in the tier, but we're not forgetting that tier. There'll be more to say on that.
Absolutely.
Again, I think a lot of people in most of the other, I guess, content created or anything content put around it, again, was mostly focusing on the 9000, which he should. But it is something that always kind of interests me. It's like, we're moving into bigger, better. We always want to make sure that even we're taking care of the mid-range. And I do want to real quick, recognize, hold on. Hopefully I'm saying it correctly. So the Kumcook, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. I'm just a regular user, first time on your live stream, and it's very educational. Thank you very much. I'm very happy that you're able to join us, and I'm very happy that you find the excitement and the content that we're trying to provide together here is as entertaining as I'm hoping you would find it. It is, like I said, to me, it's something that I find exciting, and I also find very, very nice to be able to work with the companies that make the phones, but also the companies that make the hardware that powers that phone. So yeah, definitely the Dimensity 9000 it's a big promise, and I want to see them also focus on the 1200 and 1100 and the successors to that one as well. Okay, let me jump real quick. I think there's a few more. We can do that in there.
And then, so the last thing I want to kind of bring it together. Again, thank you for spending some time with us. So we talked D9000. We talked about Wi-Fi 6E and so on. You also talked a little bit about Wi-Fi 7.
Yeah.
So this is like
another
we're talking
surprise.
another little thing, and which by the way, maybe I'll let you talk about I don't want to circumvent. So maybe talk to us a little bit about Wi-Fi 7 and Mediatek and.
Well, I mean, Wi-Fi is the other critical wireless connectivity technology, right? And so I think we made significant investments in 5G. I think over the last 2 years we've demonstrated our leadership in 5G, not just on the business side of it, but also on the technology side of it, with many firsts.
Yes.
With different features, different modes, first with SA, first with TDD plus FDD, now the first with 3 carrier aggregation, etc. And we will keep pushing that forward. But Wi-Fi technology, I think, is also a critical wireless technology. And Mediatek, I think we've been known for having the broadest breadth of Wi-Fi products, right?
So this is a big thing that again, one of the reasons why I said Mediatek's approach to business is very different than what Qualcomm and some of the other OEMs are. Because at the end of the day, Mediatek is about connectivity. It's about getting you to what you need as fast as possible and as best possible connection. Wi-Fi 6E was also a big announcement that they did that yesterday and the day before. But Wi-Fi 7, literally like the next generation of Wi-Fi 7. We've had Wi-Fi 6 for some time. E obviously is the next iteration. But demoing something, what can we do with Wi-Fi 7 and capabilities of providing us even better connectivity and interconnectivity between our devices, that's the future that I'm excited about. Again, one of the reasons why we're kind of jumping into it. But they also had a lot of routers. I mean, they're in routers. They're in a whole bunch of different connected, connections. Matt, welcome back. Welcome to the show, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, dude, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of thing going on. And as you guys probably already know, we're talking about Mediatek. We're talking with Finbar Moynihan. And so let's jump back real quick into that conversation.
Are pretty much everything in the Wi-Fi space, from
Most of your
mobile
profile
IoT.
is literally like especially IoT or automation.
Yeah. But I think we've made the deliberate decision, just like we did in 5G. We also have made the deliberate decision, driven by our CEO and top managers, to be in the leading wave of Wi-Fi technology going forward. So yes, we've already delivered a full suite of Wi-Fi 6E solutions, so they're all available. We've talked about them before in our Philogic line. Yeah. But the next major push is Wi-Fi 7, and I think my colleague James talked about this in the event this week. But I think the pandemic maybe has fueled this, but the standards are moving even faster than they have on a historical basis. And I think it really is pandemic driven, where people are just looking for more and more connectivity.
It was a wake-up call that I don't think any.
And so that actually was a very big point that I realized a lot of us probably recognized this or realized this about a year ago or so, when we all started to actually leverage our connectivity and being online and working and doing things at home. Our Wi-Fi connections and our modem quality has been definitely pushed to the limit, and we realize how much we need. Having the fact that my wife, myself, and my son were all online at the same time, at the same doing things together. One of the main reasons why I realized my network connection at home was not sufficient to sustain that many people at the same time. Me creating content or doing live streams, but then my son being online doing his homework, my wife using her computers, and so on. So yeah, definitely, this is something that I feel like it's good that they're focusing on it and that they're looking towards the future. And Wi-Fi 7 obviously is going to be the future, but just we need to see the capabilities. Sorry about that. So let's go ahead and continue real quick here. Let me jump in a few minutes more here. I think it's like 12 minutes.
Don't get me wrong. 1200 and 1100 are amazing. 1000 was amazing, and they fit the market that they're going into. But I've wanted to see Mediatek at the forefront, literally like headbutting with some of the other competitors in the market, because the reality is you already have the market share. Now you just have to, I'm not saying you should have to, but you are going to basically say, look, we're here and we're here to play, and we're not only going to deliver, we're going to over-deliver, because that's the way you should expect what we do. We're reliable. You use us every day. I personally use Chrome OS Chromebooks. The pandemic, obviously, as you can imagine, the massive demand, the growth. I think I saw somewhere where like 96% was the growth in sales.
Oh, it's crazy.
It was
So that's one of the other things I think a lot of us, I'm sure a lot of us already kind of recognize. Chrome OS, Chromebooks have been a massive, in the US at least, a substantial number, I would say almost all the kids that went to school and they were doing homework, studies from home, were provided a Chromebook from their schools for them to actually do their homework and their assignments and so on. And remember, they went through about a year and a half worth of schooling, half of the second half part of their, a year and a half ago for 2020 for their school, and then the beginning and all of last entire school year was running on Chrome OS. So sales of Chromebooks have gone high, but the fact that Mediatek can provide us, and we'll talk about that as far as a long battery life, that's the big game changer. Using ARM, using more efficient power management and computing power to run Chrome OS, as opposed to, let's say, running an Intel i5 or an i7, will give you a better experience in the long run, for sure. Oh man, hold on. Okay, so sorry, here is just Sarvan saying, TK, Wi-Fi 6 is surprisingly faster and have good speed in my Pixel and iPhone 13 Pro. iPhone actually is giving me half the speed. It depends on how the modem and software update, but yes, the Wi-Fi 6 connectivity and coverage, especially for the home, has been a very big jump forward. And the fact that we finally are now getting more devices, especially obviously, Pixel 6 and iPhone and Samsungs and so on, obviously the high-end flagships are always going to support it. But the fact is, again, jumping in and figuring what the next level can do for us and provide us, that's the exciting part. So Wi-Fi 7 obviously is not something that is going to be coming out in the next month or at CES. I think this is purely a demo. They talked a little bit more about that, that more than likely it's going to be something more like late 2022 into 23. But the fact that we can see an early demonstration of what the capabilities can do and are is exciting. This is, again, looking towards the future. And CES being and however it ends up becoming how it is this year or next year, I think early next year, I'm excited to see what they offer. And that's one of those things we want to see. So for sure. Vishnu's in there. Hey, hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping by. Matt is, I generally watch. I genuinely watch everything that TK does. I'm not a fanboy or anything, but TK is an awesome with same thing with Juan. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Literally, this could not have been any better other than, Juan and I being able to cover this event. And I'm trying to work my way to bring in conversation so that we can have better communication between myself, Juan, and as well as Mediatek. So hopefully for the upcoming event. So yeah, for sure, I'm with you, man. My buddy, I'm missing my buddy and having my buddy with me. Man. So yeah, the video. If you don't want to miss it, I am going to share the video link. Obviously, it is going to go up. I didn't want to put it as its own video on its own, but again, I probably will post it. Maybe make it live tomorrow morning for people that want to be able to see it. But it will be unlisted for the rest of the day for everybody to be able to watch it if you guys want to on that one. But let's recap it. I think there's a few minutes left into that one and jump back in.
Astronomical.
Yeah.
But it made us realize how much we can enjoy using Chrome OS, ARM-based, low power consumption, massive
battery life, yeah.
You guys have a 16-hour battery
Yeah, yeah.
on like Chrome OS. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
That's like the longest flight plus then some,
Yeah, yeah.
and just being able to create using, obviously Chrome OS, not necessarily even being connected. You can create and do everything you want, and once you connect, it just syncs up. So, thank you, and I will be watching with binoculars, just focusing on the future of Mediatek, and I'm excited to see that you guys are stepping it up.
It's an exciting time. I think, like a lot of the technologies you mentioned, they're obviously critical and core to the businesses we're in.
Oh, absolutely. And if you get into so many different industries, even if it's not, even with the TVs, we're talking 8K streams, video conferencing, family, just, it's seriously, it's interconnected. You're connecting the world.
Exactly.
And it's not just on the mobile devices, it's everywhere.
Home, IoT, everywhere. And I think what's critical is the technologies are going to fuel the next phase of growth for Mediatek, because these are
just on the mobile devices, it's everywhere.
home.
So this is the other event. Well, not the TV section. The TV section. So it's the Pentonic series of devices. So the MediaTek Pentonic 2000. It's going to be powering some of the new TVs coming up in the next year, late next year. If you notice right there, it says 8K at 120 hertz refresh rates. Intelligent view, exceptional pixel quality, obviously outstanding performance with AI, extraordinary UI, UX and global platform. But one thing that doesn't show up on this chart is the fact, first, it's a 7-nanometer chipset based architecture, not 4-nanometer. It's still a massive improvement over what we've seen in the past. But the other part is it also focusing on trying to support online gaming, streaming services, so that it actually transforms the experience of what we have right now, having to connect a separate device to our TV to play these games. So imagine having to be able to, I don't know if this is going to be exactly how they streamed it, but if let's say Xbox Pass, running on your TV with your gaming controller without having to have an actual Xbox sitting there. That's a massive game-changing experience when it comes down to a TV. So for that one, I'm very, very happy. Jacob Finn's, hey man, Finn, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us. Sir Biffy's is asking us, also, does the latest version of ColorOS finally have lockdown made in the security settings to disable biometrics from user menu? So I think you're referring to this. Okay, finally have lockdown made in the security. I need to fire up my last version of ColorOS. I'm still running on the beta for ColorOS 12 on my Find X3 Pro, but I have not powered it on for the last 3 weeks. I'll be very honest with you guys. I've been using so many different devices and jumping on that, so I'll have to double check. As far as the resolution of the refresh rate conversation, actually, this is the first time I've heard on them capping it at 48 hertz. The S21 Ultra, it was supposed to go further than the S20 and the S20 Plus with the refresh rate dropping to 10 hertz. That was one of their biggest focuses that they were doing. So I'm definitely very. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. I did not hear about the conversation, meaning that there were some capping concerns. But what I wanted to kind of circle back before we finish this is that the Pentonic 2000 chipset is seriously moving smart TVs. And again, from having just started to use a TCL TV, which is very exciting to see what they've done because they work with them all the time, having some of these capabilities in the next year or two versions of those devices, it's going to be just amazing. I don't know how much 8K I'm going to be watching, but honestly, a better experience on 4K or 1080 will still be improved by just having the sheer horsepower that they're putting in here. And of course, thank you very much for the man, the myth himself, not myself, Matt Tyler. December is almost here. We're going to get some gaming with the new maps on Call of Duty. The man, the legend, Matt Tyler himself. And make sure you check out his content. He's amazing, honestly. Streaming games and providing content, TikToks and stuff as well. And hashtag not sponsored, but of course, doing some nice giveaways and collaborations with Extreme Skins. So very nice. Looking forward to check it out. And thank you very much, man. Always, always appreciate your help and your support. I'm not gonna. Savron saying, like, I'm not gonna lie, ColorOS 12 is actually so optimized than OxygenOS 12. Sad to see, but we have to wait for the unified OS. So there's been a big change. ColorOS so what we remember. This is the weird conversation, right? The impression and the views of a certain color or operating system is dependent on what you're looking or when you used it. If you've used ColorOS prior to ColorOS 11, meaning anything from the 7, 6, and 5, your experience may be different depending on what device you're using. It was definitely a lot slower. It wasn't very optimized, and updates for those were very slow. ColorOS 11 changed that conversation, and it became much faster, much more optimized. And again, this was before they started to work with the OxygenOS part. OxygenOS shifted with Android 11 to a new UI interface, and that actually, for the most part, is going to stay around. It's not going away. All we're going to see at the reality at the end of the day, it's going to be a coming, meaning that ColorOS will be the base, and it's already a great base. And then OxygenOS is going to be running on top of it as a separate skin, kind of like how. And I know you're going to be thinking of like, TK, why would you have a skin on top of a skin? We're talking basically the pure form of ColorOS as the base, and then OxygenOS running there. We're not talking an actual full version of ColorOS 12 and then OxygenOS. So optimized, kind of like AOSP and Android on a Pixel. It's different. And that's where I think the benefits are going to be. Also, unifying the teams between OnePlus and Oppo helps provide us better and hopefully faster updates and faster turnaround cycles for updates for new versions of Android. So it's a great way for us to optimize and use the main benefits. And again, my main hope is we'll see some of the color science that we have in the Oppo camera applications transition over to OnePlus, and I think that's something that we've been missing. They've been improving a lot with Hasselblad and what they've done in the past, McLaren, different theming, so on. But at the end of the day, I feel like also we need a little bit better improvement on the color science on that side, for sure. Okay. Let me see. Hey! Oh my God, I appreciate that. Good day. Yeah, so everybody say hi to my Mrs. Bay, Vanya R. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. And thank you very much for the support. Yes, love having my wife jumping in. So yeah, definitely. Let's finish up the interview real quick. There's like I think a couple of minutes left, and then we'll kind of bring this conversation back.
IoT everywhere. And I think what's critical is the technologies are going to fuel the next phase of growth for Mediatek, because these are the critical technologies that are going to shape the next type of devices we're all going to be using, whatever they turn out to be.
I cannot wait to hear that there's a smartwatch or more connected, XR, AR, a whole bunch of other things. I realize there are things you can't talk, obviously. Yep. I'm sure if D9000 is the current future that we're looking forward to, can you just imagine how much more there is that they can't talk about? That's the excitement. No, seriously, like I know there's a certain, like this is what we can.
Yeah, and there's more to come.
But that's what I love. So I can't wait. And I say again, thank you very much, Finbar. And it's been a couple of years, but it's
good
almost
to be back in person, TK.
Absolutely. It's almost like it was a couple of days ago. We haven't seen each other. So
and we'll see you at CS, it sounds like.
I will be there with bells on. I will be there with bells on. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please, I will say this. I was talking to one of my friends. We need to get you on Twitter. I was trying to tag you.
I've heard that.
I was trying to tag him this morning. So some of the questions that I got today was for some of our followers. And I was trying to go online. I'm like, where is Finbar? I'm like, I can't find. So I went over, and then they're like, no, he's not. I'm like,
yeah, something we have to address.
So please, yes, when even just to be able to hear some news from any exciting things that you are able to share.
I'll take that as a New Year's resolution.
Yes, yes. So with that being said, hope you guys are doing well. Be safe, stay safe, and we're going to get back into the live stream. So get ready with your questions. First thing I will say this.
Absolutely amazing part. Now, if I can just figure out, here it is. And okay, so here, so remove from the stream. So, okay. Geeking out, all excitement and everything aside, seriously, it was a very good, informative conversation, and I loved every minute of it. What they were able to do and what they're promising right now is a very big move for a big player in the SoC market or even in the IoT department market, right? So the promise obviously is best performance experience on a MediaTek chipset. is coming into the 9000. Makes sense. How is it going to be implemented? How we're going to see different approaches, and what's going to be the pricing? Is it going to be where you're able to save money and still get the bang for the buck experience? Is it going to be still the same continued conversations we've seen with the 1100 and the 1200? That's the approach, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing from MediaTek in the future. Performance and throughput. We saw some charts, we saw some information, and there was a lot of references to Flagship 2021, and then there was also, Android Flagship, and the terminology was a little bit, wasn't consistent, but I think the main thing that we're trying to demonstrate is that they're able to hang with the best of them. The Cortex, the architecture that they're using here with the X2 main core running at 3.05 gigahertz, and the fact that they're also trying to jump into a triple ISP with 18-bit processing. This is very big, triple streams of 18 processing. So you're talking about the ability of getting multiple cameras running at the same time and just getting the benefit of them. And this is also the first time they've jumped into the triple ISP. They've typically stuck to the dual ISP configuration. So those things are very exciting to see. 5G, lower power consumption with 5G modem. I'm also excited to see how their implementations is. The reason I say this is because in the past, with any device that I've reviewed or I've actually got a chance to play around with that is featuring a MediaTek processor, most of them were not optimized to run in my area. So I never got 5G in the way it was intended. And as we heard, there's going to be a millimeter wave variant of a MediaTek processing device in the US in 2022. So that's exciting. 5G, millimeter wave, and I'm hopefully obviously supporting millimeter wave, even sub-6 at the same time. Those are going to be some things that I'm very excited for. The future of the 1200 and the 1100 SoC with the 800 and 900 series as well. That's also very, very good. I want to see more of these devices in the US and, of course, more support. If Samsung's able to leverage the cost savings of what MediaTek is able to provide and still sell as many A-series smartphones, this will be the best way to do it, because that's the best correlation between the two. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Again, the video, I'm going to be posting video or making it live tomorrow morning. Today was mostly just to kind of showcase it inside of the stream. And I'm actually very happy to see that StreamYard handles the file right. I'm glad I had that file, and I do apologize for the beginning part of it. I do need your help, and I'm hoping you guys can help me out, because there are some things I want to be able to customize and change. So I want to evolve. We're going to be hitting the 100th episode in about 3 weeks. So next week is Thanksgiving. The week after that, next I'll be in Hawaii with Qualcomm. So our live stream from there will be from Qualcomm, and that's going to be live stream number 99. And at 100, I want to do a nice little revamp. Big thing I want to talk about is, not to say that Saturday Morning with Tech is not an amazing title to a show, but I feel like we need to make it a little bit more specific to Android. So if you guys can think of anything, I'm trying to throw ideas like, what I can call the show and whatever, but I want to make it more title-wise specific to Android, more so than Saturday Morning with Tech. Because I think from a discovery and searchability, it's very hard to find something, unless you knew about the show and you were a fan, as I'm sure all of you guys are. It just hopefully will help us also kind of get the conversation opened up to even more people in the future. So, Sarvan, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yes, so like I said, Finbar was an easy person to interview because I've known him for some time. And this is, again, like I've sat with him before. I've been with part of Miriam. Miriam Jouar, if you guys are not familiar with it, the Mobile Tech Podcast, that was the other show I was on prior to being with him. And the last time we were all together, we hung out. So everybody at MediaTek is very welcoming and very, genuinely excited to be there and hanging out with all of us. And I was very happy to see what he was able to share with us. And again, amazing guy, Finbar, as you guys know, and he's in his new role now as the VP of marketing for both US and Europe very recently. So he's getting a lot of questions from a lot of people. Oh my God, give TK money for 100. I like that trend. But let's figure it out. I think we need to want to see if we can get something like, help me rebrand it in a sense that it makes sense. I want to be able to open up and have more and more conversations, actually, with way more people, of course. I like that one. Something specific, combining both of them, TK Bay and Android. I'm like thinking, it's like, how do I, because there's so many Android specific ones, right? But like, there has to be a specific way to kind of throw it in there and see what we can. Actually, it's not a bad idea, Matt. We can definitely do an interview, and we can definitely start going question to question and see, how are you making those shots, man? That's what I want to know. those sniper shots that you know on Call of Duty is like crazy good. How are you doing that? And also, how soon can we get you to double check and see how my loadouts are set up on in Call of Duty so we can get better at the game, especially with the new the new Pacific maps. I think that are going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Right now, every time I go on, it always gets in there for sure. Ooh, actually, I like that one. Hold on. Sorbifius is actually saying it's Android's weekly recap with TK. I like that. The Android Weekly podcast. The Android's Weekly Recap podcast. Where is a pen when you need one? You know what? Actually, hold on. I have it on the show. I can actually definitely ping it and you can go back and check it out. Um, oh yeah, for sure. And if you guys haven't had a chance to, I know it looks a little bit weird. So Aditya just posted the link to Miriam Zwar's the podcast. I guess the mobile podcast. Amazing. Theo, her partners, amazing people. Let's just say this. Um, a little bit of thank you for Miriam. She introduced me to Sony a few years back when I was trying to get in touch with them. So very much appreciated all her help for all the years, and an amazing person. Always amazing and always helpful, and very easy to talk to. And again, another thank you. She helped me get into to my Tesla. She was helping me. She answered all my questions. She's been a Tesla owner for a long time and drives it all over the place. So it was very much a very happy coincidence for me. Ooh, okay. Aditya's hitting with a good one. Android with Bay, or is how about this? Is Android Bay? Ooh, hold on. Now we're getting. Oh my God, this is going to be across the podcast with TK and Android. I like that one. Yeah, but then people are going to be like, I'm copying Matt and taking over across the podcast with TK and Android. I love that. Saturday morning with Android. You know what? That's not a bad idea. I like that one. Changing it over with tech and to make it an Android. I have to. This is going to probably happen within the next 3 weeks or so. I mean, at the episode 100, I'd love to be able to see if we can kick it in. And Bay Weekly, Serbifius. I like that one. And Bay for so. As much as I like that one, the main thing for me primarily is I want to make sure that it's focused. Again, leveraging a lot of the XDA background that I've had, and it's not going anywhere, but it's focusing on that so that we can bring it in and hopefully help a little bit more with discoverability on that one. Community poll on YouTube and Instagram, TK time, absolutely. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I need to post that up there and then start seeing TK Android Bay. I love that. Oh my God. So I was playing idea this morning. I was planning on basically renaming it and putting it there, the TK Android Bay podcast. Actually, it's not a bad idea. The TAB, so the tab as a shortcut to TK Android Bay. Okay, that actually is a very good contender, Dominic. I appreciate that, man. I'll put that in there as well. Android is generic. So Android is generic, absolutely, which is the big part why I wanted to have that name fully spelled out in the title, so that it actually does end up becoming, if somebody is looking for anything Android related as a podcast, then it comes up. Right now, Saturday Morning with Tech, although it matched exactly what the show is supposed to be, it's a Saturday morning show talking about tech, it's very hard to discover this title. And I'm just trying to, like I said, it's more about keeping the same format, what we do and what we want to talk, but make sure that people know that this is an Android primary conversation, but we're still going to touch on everything, regardless if it's Android, iOS, macOS, iPadOS, and all of that good stuff. Taking of XDA, so talking about XDA, the app needs some more love. The development on that one, yeah, it's a little bit. There's been some challenges. There's been some changes going on with XDA, so I'm not sure who's in charge of the app development at this point. But yeah, I like this one. Hold on. Android with Bay. Android with Bay. But maybe spelled Bay. Maybe spelled Bay with BAY, like Android with Bay. Like that's not a bad idea. I like that. Android with Bay. Welcome back to the Android with Bay show. I'm your host, TK Bay, the Bay part of this conversation. I just made an intro. TK's Android announcements. I love that. Android with Bay. Android with Bay. This is okay. You know what, Matt? I may have to take that. I'm actually liking that a lot. Android with Bay. Okay, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to be using the Android with Bay. I think there was another one that I think we just put out just a second ago. So Aditya did a really good job starting it. Android Bay at the beginning, yes. And then, of course, Saturday Morning with Android, I think it's also a nice one from Greg. But but yeah, no, I want to keep it basically again very specific. But the Android with Bay, it is very cool. I'll have to TK Android Talk. I like that one as well. Sravan, I think they're very very nice as well. So I think we just need a few couple. So here, this one is Android with Bay. We have Matt, and we have also Sravan right there with the TK Android Talk. But sorry about that. Too much Diet Coke in the morning. Not morning, lunch. So with that being said, we are at that point in the show where we are obviously at the TK section. If you're new to the show, you haven't seen it before, this is something that started a long time ago. It helps us showcase some of the amazing people that are able to hang out with us every Saturday and kicking it with us and talking tech and enjoying it. And of course, what I do want to say, of course, thank you very much to Mediatek for inviting me and hosting me to be part of the show. And then, of course, being able to interview them and talk to them. They're an amazing group as a company. And then, of course, their PR and their executives are also very helpful and very open to helping and answering questions. So I will go back and start talking a little bit more about Android development. And as far as open source, that obviously will be something that we all need to know. And of course, firmware updates, as we talked about it earlier. But if you haven't seen the show, we haven't done it before, this would be a great time to start dropping in some of those TK Bay, hashtag TK Bay in the chat. And then we're going to we'll bring it up. We'll start talking about different answers. I am, like I said, focusing on renaming and rebranding the show, mostly to be more specific to Android. And I feel like it becomes a little bit easier to be discovered. Like Juan's has the SGGQA and everybody calls like, Juan Bagnell's in there, is SGG, and there is him. So for me, it's going to be something more specific to Android, as I feel like this is basically what I'm really known for it to start with. Other than that, I think next week's going to be, it's a little bit of a holiday for us, but I'm going to be focusing back a little bit more on the standard regular video format for us, and then trying to, kind of get ready for, actually going to Hawaii to support the Qualcomm announcements and everything going on. The 898 is supposed to be basically, again, even more powerful. If we saw anything from MediaTek today, it should be a nice, very nice, like an appetite cleanser, whetting our appetite a little bit more to find out what Qualcomm's going to have for 2022. And the fact is, or of course, how soon we're going to be able to see devices come out with it. Will Xiaomi jump in and release? I wouldn't be surprised if Xiaomi jumps in and releases an 898 before the end of the year. That'll be an amazing feat to do. But with that being said, let's go ahead and start kicking it up. This time it's going to be interesting. So I'm going to go do it here. I'm going to say remove from studio. And we're going to share the same screen. This should actually be interesting because typically I do it on a separate screen. Share screen. Okay, so here. So this is going to be the TKception. Again, if you haven't seen it before, bam, it works as always, as advertised. TK Bay, always very, very much like the best experience that we can actually get here, of course. So let's jump in real quick. So here, Greg, thank you very much for hanging out with us, the TKception, and then of course TK the man. Oh, thank you very much, man. I appreciate your help. Matt Tyler, the man, the myth, the Call of Duty God himself, hanging out with us. TKception, Android with Bay. Always, and Aditya, brother love, always. And I did not get a chance to mention or talk about it, but my hope is that you're doing much better, Aditya. I hope things are working out and everything. I did not get a chance to touch base with you. It's been a busy week for me, and I do apologize. I didn't mean to fall through for that. But again, I hope things are getting better. And Monday morning, we're all going to be talking again with Juan Carlos on the SGGQA, and we'll see how the show is going there as well. A little bit of a sneak peek. We're still trying to figure out the timing and the time frame for next week for Juan. I think there's going to be some. We're going to try to figure out the timing for the best of our week podcast. So that one's doing great. Let me see here. Aditya jumping back with us here. TKception, TKR Bay, TK Tesla Bay, getting the recognition deserved. Bay, appreciate it always. Thank you for being an awesome, amazing human. Thank you for hanging out, guys. Thank you for all of the support that you guys are doing. So here, this is another one. So Biffy says the AV1 support back with the 898. Hopefully, I'm hoping for that because right now it seems like if you truly want best AV1 decoding, this is going to be right now MediaTek the Dimensity 9000 is going to be where you want to look. So it's definitely something interesting, especially for Netflix consumption. Dominic Wan, thank you very much. TKception, TK Mediatek Bay. Isn't that like Mediatek Bay? I like that. Super Saiyan Bay, of course. Goku hanging out with me. I had to represent. There's different, change different shirts and so on, but you got to represent with Goku, of course. TK Kara DT, of course. It's a community, guys. I mean, the reality at the end of the day, The show is basically a great way for us to communicate, to chat, to recap, and to discuss different things. This week was amazing because we got a chance to talk some future stuff coming up that is, something very much not everybody's going to be able to cover. Finbar was very gracious enough to actually allow me to sit down with him and talk to him in the middle of all of the other things that they were trying to do and present yesterday. So it was a very blessed experience, and I hope it obviously happens again. And I can't wait to see what they have at CES. So for sure, it's going to be an amazing experience. Let me see here. Android with Bay, thank you very much. Everybody else, but yeah, no, for sure. What I would probably say is this: I hope you do well. I hope you do good, and I hope you guys have an amazing week. Enjoying and doing everything that tech and what entertainment and that you're able to do with that, and just be good. And like I said, I've always said it actually, get in touch with somebody you haven't talked to for some time. I'm really sure that they're going to be happy to hear from you and always know what you guys are doing. So be safe, stay safe. Jimmy Fire Dragon, thank you very much. I'm sorry I didn't want to miss that one as well. Matt Tyler jumping back with us again. I think there was one more from Matt right there. Here, HDMI out for Pixel. Oh my God, I've been wanting that for years, for sure. So thanks to everybody for hanging out with us. Finn, Dominic Wong, Greg, Jimmy Fire Dragon, Matt Tyler, Aditya, Dual Xenos, Infopinion. Thank you very much. Sorbefius, everybody, Sarvan and Finn. I think everybody hanging out with us was an amazing stream. So I'll see you guys next week. Be safe, stay safe, and the video will go up tomorrow for the interview. Okay. I'll see you guys in the next show. Bye-bye for now.